Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on Superman and Lois Season 3. So the creators of Superman and Lois, since it really started back in Season 1, have been big advocates of sort of, tapping in and sort of bringing forward from the comics and just picking characters that they think fans will enjoy but also not fully understand. So they're also just putting a bit of a twist on them, either to, catch you off guard at some point in the storyline, or just to make them easier to use on the show, more accessible, and they translate better. Like, if there's a big pig monster with tentacles, it might look silly on Superman and Lois, based off the tone and everything and style of the show. So they would change the character to be, this giant pig man with tentacles into like a dude that can, I don't know, fly. I don't know, something weird stuff like that. And also just maybe make them not blatantly a villain from the get-go and make them a bit more mysterious and maybe even a bit like, in the grey area or something like that. A bit of mystery is wanted by them, for the audience. Now in Season 1 we had this with Morgan Edge, who was revealed to be Kal-El's long-lost and unknown half-brother who had arrived on Earth well before Kal-El did. But, more, importantly, didn't have the same upbringing, so it led him down a different path. And then in Season 2, we really had two, I guess, with Ali Alston, aka Parasite, who we were like, yeah, okay, she is this villain from the comics, but it felt like the show was making us think, something else would be the muscle at the end of the season until she became super OP through the methods that she did use throughout the season. And then we, of course, early in the season, right at the beginning pretty much, had the obvious and one of the bigger misdirects I can remember when they teased a Doomsday appearance after they replicated his debut in the comics before he kills Superman in the comics, but it's revealed that this was Bizarro's Superman, which sort of blew everyone's minds, and we all got played. But of course, the introduction of a Doomsday type character did sort of confuse people when it was teased, and everyone was like, yeah, at the beginning of Season 2, we're bringing in Doomsday? Not even the end of Season 2, but at the beginning? How the hell is that going to work season long? And of course, that didn't really matter whether it would work at the beginning of a season or not, because that just was not the case. But there continued to be a valid interest about Doomsday potentially being used on the show if that could happen, and just how they would do it. And based on some stuff from the set for the finale of this season of Superman and Lois, of course that being Season 3, we might potentially be getting maybe not exactly Doomsday and like 100% from the comics, but a twist on it that would play into what we already saw or have already seen take place in the early episodes of Season 3, which also, as I said, with the twist there and making it, like the comics, but also a bit different, that lines with what we've seen previously in other seasons with this show. So yeah, there should be a bit of an interesting discussion. But of course, spoiler alert for certain scenes and how they sort of play out the finale. Nothing's like visually seen, just a, as a, I guess like another sort of, asterisk on the video, another like sort of spoiler thing. It's just a lot of details and stuff like that through words. So yeah, just spoiler for certain scenes if you don't want to really know. But of course, if you are continuing on, let me know in the comment section down below your thoughts on this. Does this interest you? Are you excited to see something like this play out? Let me know in the thoughts, or let me know any other thoughts you have in the comment section down below. And of course, going to enjoy the video, looking forward to this. Want to show your support? Drop a like, takes 2 seconds. So this information is coming from Canada Graphs, who went to the set of the filming for the finale for Season 3 of Superman and Lois, which was done in that sort of like open area from the Flash Season 5 finale, which was the area where the reverse Flash fight happened and like Nora disappeared after being an idiot and messing up the timeline so bad that she erased herself and no one else. Like, yeah, that area. Now, at the time, there was no rain. It was actually like sort of like a dry day in Vancouver. I think it was cold, but it was dry. But Superman was given a wet look, if you want to put it, where it looks like he's been like completely submerged in water, whether that means he's jumped in the ocean or had something thrown on him like a water tank, something along those lines. He was just like wet from head to toe. But the scene in question here is that a bunch of extras standing around, just walking around, when all of a sudden Superman shows up, landing on the ground in front of them. Now everyone looks at him, they're like, oh my god, it's Superman, with Superman telling them that everything's going to be okay, everything's going to be fine. But before he can do much more than just tell them everything's going to be good, everything's going to be sweet, something comes down from the skies, crashing towards Earth, and he leaps off from the ground to take it on and sort of fight it in midair. This would be like a CGI scene, obviously. They then shot a scene with a bunch of people walking around when suddenly they stop to look at the center of a road, with the director instructing the people that they see Superman crawling out of the hole, and he's meant to be looking injured. So they're meant to look concerned for Superman, like, oh my god, Superman's hurt, he might die, what's going on here? But here's the next interesting bit, because the next part of the scene, the director tells them that something else is coming out of the hole behind Superman, and it's this monster. There's no description of a monster, it's just a monster, with them being instructed to follow a signal up a building, which is sort of meant to represent Superman and this quote-unquote monster flying away. So I don't know if it means Superman picks them up and they fly up, or if the monster does that to Superman, or they just do it together and they're fighting in midair. Now, you might be at the moment just thinking like, oh, okay, Superman's fighting another powered being, that's cool. But here is the kicker. So on this storyboard for the scenes that were being filmed here, there was a drawing with the line under it saying, his spikes grow, with the drawing in question apparently showing a monster with jagged spikes growing out of it. So yeah, we're going to pause there because, well, actually not even the pause, that's really the ending of the discussion from the blog from Canada Graphs, but in regards to the pause, it's more me mentally going, oh, that has to be Doomsday, right? Or at least a Doomsday type character. So I play on Doomsday. So sort of like the same process that Doomsday might go through. So of course, if you don't know the process of Doomsday, he's pretty much this like scientific creation from Krypton where pretty much whatever he is killed by, he is reborn, but is then like impervious to that. So he's like, he can't be killed by whatever it is. So if he's, killed by, a kryptonite, for example, or something along those lines, or, like a, heat vision or something, he can't be affected by that once he's reborn. He becomes impervious. So he gets stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger each single time he dies. So obviously he's quite the threatening prospect there. And of course you can lock him away, which they have done in the past, but, eventually it's, eventually Doomsday is going to get out. It just happens, whether it's 10 years later or 1,000 years later. Sometimes you just can't prevent Doomsday, if you want to put it. Now, of course, the big question with this is it actually Doomsday? And my thought around this is no. I don't think it's actually going to be Doomsday in regards to the thing from Krypton. I don't think it's going to be that. I think it's going to be maybe sort of similar to maybe something like Batman v Superman, where maybe it is like, obviously in that case, they used a Kryptonian and turned him into Doomsday. But I think they might use like something from Krypton based off maybe like some ex-kryptonite or something, and then turn someone into Doomsday through a certain method. Now, the big question I have, and I'm just going to jump into one of my theories on who it could be, is will Atom Man, aka Henry Miller, who we've seen the first couple of episodes, is he going to become Doomsday? Because it seems that he keeps dying, and sort of they bring him back to life, and they're sort of developing and maybe turning that weakness into him being impervious against it, because he's like going to be scattered throughout this season. So we started off with seeing him in the season 1 flashbacks where he's just an ordinary dude with a flamethrower. That was pretty much him. Then he gets his brain tumor, he's released from prison, given these powers, then he dies. He gets killed by onomatopoeia and towards the end of episode 1, but is then brought back to life, and they seem to be going through some complications. So maybe he's the one that becomes Doomsday through all these methods that Bruno Mannheim is doing. Because the actor who plays Atom Man, who's I think Paul Lazenby, I think his name is, also said he wrapped back in like episode 8 or 9. Like he wrapped like well before this episode aired, or started filming, I want to say, but then revealed that he would be back for the finale on social media. Like he didn't think he was coming back. He thought like episode 8 or 9 was his final episode, but then he was back for the finale. So is it specifically for this? Maybe it was going to be a completely CGI thing, the Doomsday thing, or maybe they used a stunt person if they needed someone actually there, so they wouldn't have needed the actor, and then it changed that they now need the actual actor for some other stuff. Maybe that's what's going on here. But when I think jagged spikes growing, not just there, like initially, but they start to grow out as if like someone's developing in the process, I think of Doomsday. He's the only one I can think of. I'm sure there might be some other character you could probably pick from there, but for a finale type thing, it just sounds like a Doomsday type thing they're going with. Now, as I said, it wouldn't surprise me if it's Atom Man, but another option that, and this isn't necessarily an option that people have been saying, oh, what if it's this character? This is just a character that people think has an underlying storyline this season, or an underlying play or role in this season's storyline. And that's this Earth's, not the John Henry Irons we've been hanging out with, but this Earth's John Henry Irons that supposedly was killed. People think that there is just something sus going on there, and that character is going to come back in some way, and maybe he is the one that gets turned into Doomsday. So maybe they're doing all these trials on other people like Atom Man, but it's really so they can develop John Henry Irons into this thing. Now, I thought they might have, if they used John Henry Irons, they might have made him into like Metallo or Cyborg Superman. That might have worked better, but they might use him and change him him into Doomsday. That might be the way they go about things. Because it just feels like there's going to be something on that end there and a reveal that's just waiting to happen. And it might not be that he's still alive and they're actually using him here, but I don't know, it could be that, and maybe he's the one that becomes Doomsday. But the fact that Atom Man wasn't meant to come back and is now coming back, and he's sort of, you know, scattered throughout the season, and he's being experimented on with this ex-Kryptonite, which is, you know, Kryptonite, you know, from Krypton, so they could use that on him and it could sort of play into a Doomsday type storyline. That sort of lines up with it. And also, this season needed a physical threat alongside Bruno Mannheim and Lex Luthor. We've been talking about that. So this lines up with that need, because, as you know, Bruno Mannheim is just sort of like the, you know, maniacal sort of businessman, you know, he's going to, you know, the power and stuff in regards to, you know, people in, you know, under his control. He doesn't actually have physical power. And Lex Luthor, sure, he could have the exosuit, but I don't think that's much of a match. I think that it'd be a bit of a downgrade from what we've seen in the first 2 seasons. So he could have it, but I don't think it'd be a big boss battle type thing for the end of the season. So having something like this, where it sounds like it could be like a Doomsday type character that would look like a monster, would have jagged spikes growing out of it, I mean, it lines up. But I must say, even regardless of the fact I thought they needed a physical sort of threat, I am surprised at potentially doing Doomsday. That's like, I wasn't expecting anything like that. As I said before, I was sort of expecting something along the lines of like a Metallo or a Cyborg Superman, or even like a Mongul. We're talking about Mongul potentially being there. But yeah, Doomsday's pretty crazy if that's what they're going down. Though it wouldn't be the proper Doomsday, it would just be a play on Doomsday, sort of like what we saw in BVS and maybe even Smallville and stuff like that. But yeah, guys, that's all to go over in this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. What do you think of this? Do you think it's Doomsday coming in? Do you have any other option as to what this description might fit of a monster that's growing jagged spikes while fighting Superman? I don't know. Let me know let me know your thoughts down there in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop a like on it. Always show your support like that. It always helps out. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, and I will catch you guys later. Goodbye.